Welcome to Story Maze, a place to lose yourself in wondrous fairy tales and broadcasts from another reality. This is the third episode of an audio drama called They Broadcast from Beneath the Sea. Spycraft.
Dear listeners, Radio ReScience is back with the latest news. Great progress has been made since our last transmission. I am very proud to tell you that with the support of our extremely generous sponsors, the lab for Radio Science is now fully operational. Oh, if I only could show to you all this very scientific equipment. There are Tesla coils all over the place, emitting their lightning bolts. It is always great fun to see one of the interns walk directly into one of the electric streams between two coils. Then there are panels all over the walls with very important buttons and lights, which could only be understood by our outstandingly capable personnel. I am delighted to tell you that we also will be hiring an electrical engineer, who is also a pilot and has some ties to the military too. He will be the perfect field agent. Also, our transmission is now boosted by 2 radars. Now it is time for the freshest piece of news. Tonight we can report on a fascinating encounter and sing praise to a very competent and clever woman who is protecting our homeland from invaders and spies. We are blessed that there are still people in our security agencies who aren't completely inept or involved in a conspiracy to destroy our home and livelihood of our families. It was a dark and stormy night as Rosa Barkley arrived at the colonial-style manor. She parked her Chrysler New Yorker close to the entrance and made sure its front was directed at the exit further down the driveway. The headlights turned off and she checked her equipment. She had her credentials, the set of extra keys, and her gun. A deep sigh came from her throat as she went through the details of her mission once again. Infiltrate the party. Find out which other powers are involved. Get the contract from the safe. Leave unseen. All of this was a one-woman show. Of course, she could have asked for backup, but that would render her personal mission void. All the ambitious, trigger-happy young men would have volunteered and gained all the laurels. Why? Because Rosa was a woman. This was the last of the countless attempts to break through the glass ceiling. Gassers, she swore and got out of her car. Rain and wind gusts are luckily no problem for an experienced field agent. So she put up her prettiest smile as she rang the doorbell. I am so glad I could manage it despite all the mess on the streets on the remote location. I can tell you, it was a right downhill drive. Could you be a darling and take my coat? I see, Richard is already very impatient. Leaving a flabbergasted doorman behind, Rosa entered the game. The party was in full swing. Determined, Rosa Barkley had made a mental list of the attendees already. There were many influential and wealthy guests in a vast room connected to a winter garden. Next to the small band stood the artistic people, slurping Tom Collins and gin and sins. In front of the large window, the industrials and business people held boastful conversations. And close to the buffet, a gang of high military patrolled the perimeter. One of them only moved sideways. Vigilant Rosa made a mental note about that. In between the guests, the staff of the house hovered all over the place. Currently, our brave agent was engaged in a horrendous conversation with some drug lord about his new yacht, as she recognized one of the band members. The mentally very capable Rosa Barkley knew who the slimy, smiling piece of vile cheesecake was. Roger Evelis was working for a very ominous secret government agency. With a greasy smile on his face that was only topped by the outrageous amount of hair gel, he played the clarinet. Quick-witted, she turned around and directed the interest of the boat owner towards the buffet. As he reached for the seafood, Rosa Barkley spotted a tattoo on his wrist. It crawled all the way down his arm and showed a tentacle. There are many involved in this affair, careful Rosie Barkley thought to herself. Then she smiled at the drug lord and asked with an innocent voice, "So, do you like fishing by any chance?" It took some very careful sneaking, lucky incidences, and generous spyness, but now resourceful Rosa Barkley stood in her private study. She had a time frame of 10 minutes before the host would come with somebody of importance to this very room to have a private conversation about their evil deeds. As she was taught by her very script lawyer instructor, she searched all the obvious places first, like the top of the desk, and all the reasonably easy-to-reach drawers. That took a lot of precious time. Then she saw the big portrait of the host, which was the centerpiece of the room. It was conveniently easy to swing it aside and reveal a wall safe behind it. Immediately she started to pick its lock. A glance at the clock showed her that her time was almost up. Then she heard the lock click once, then a second time, and with the third the safe door swung open, as did the door to the room. The host and the sideways walking military men entered. Although the study was brightly lit, they only noticed dangerously living Rosa Barkley as she snatched a pile of documents with a red claw on it out of the safe. Within the blink of an eye, she pocketed the object. "Who are you?" the alarmed host shouted. "I was never here," deflecting Rosa Barkley answered, and took cover behind the desk, because the two men had their pistols drawn. "Little lady, I fear you are in way above your head. Give me those papers, and you can stay a little longer for the party without fear of harm done to you." It was at this very moment that fed-up Rosa Barkley released the safety from her gun. Fast as a lightning bolt she moved out under the desk and fired at the giant chandelier above the heads of the two men. The host tried to step away as fast as he could, but the piece of furniture struck his shoulder and crashed into the military man too. Right then, the most dastardly Roger Evelis appeared out of thin air in the doorframe. Then the tentacle-tattooed drug lord hard on his heels. Roger held his clarinet in his hands. "Whatever he said, give me the documents." Hastily thinking, Rosa Barkley looked for an exit and only saw the windows. This was going to be a painful experience. In the very moment she started to run towards the window, nefarious Roger Evelis put his clarinet to his lips. But instead of a tone, a poisonous dart shot from the instrument. Shocking! It was a blowgun too! Only by inches the dart missed too fast to be alive Rosa Barkley. She stood next to the window as unrelenting Roger Evelis prepared his next dart, and with a horrible creaking noise the chandelier was destroyed by a horrific transformation. The military officer was back on his feet and shedding his skin right now. Who could have predicted this outcome? Beneath the thawed skin a red crab shell came into view. So Rosa Barkley saw herself in front of 4 adversaries. one of them crushed no more beneath a light fitting. The drug lord, the military crab, and the hostile agent drew closer. Luckily, the drug lord didn't bring any henchmen. They really would have made this encounter convoluted. Was this the moment to give up? Others would have done so surely, but not so clever Rosa Barkley. Well, since you are so overpowering, I shall surrender. With one hand up in the air to show she wasn't armed, she pulled an envelope out of her pocket. Catch it! With these words, she opened the envelope and threw a pile of papers at the 3 men, at the 4 men, at all men. Curious agent Roger Evilus eyed to the text on the paper. Anger poured into his face as he read, toast, jam, cheese, tomatoes, and so on. Then his eyes widened as he read the last sentence on every page. This message will self-destruct. Explosions showered over the triumvirate of evil, and prepared Rosa Barkley turned around, broke the glass with a sometimes conveniently disappearing gun, and made her escape. It was only a matter of seconds until she was back into her driver's seat in the car, and the engine muttered back into eager activity. Smiling Rosa Barkley drove down the driveway, whilst the ceiling of the winter garden collapsed for some reason. This was a dark and stormy night indeed. I can tell you, this was a very close encounter. To be outnumbered in such a situation and still fulfill the objective is an unbelievable feat. To deliver this report to us shows very much that the agent, whose name we changed for secrecy reasons, has our best interest at heart and wants you to know about the dangers out there. Thank you for your cooperation, Agent. During the last week, we received a number of secret messages, which asked about the well-being of Marcia from accounting. You might recall that she went into the green shining room. The most curious thing happened. Just yesterday, she returned from there without any of the sandwiches we carefully pushed into the separated part of the lab. She told us that there were some grey people without hair in it, and they blabbed something about world domination. Marcia told them that they would accomplish nothing by hanging around in that place. Also, all of this was a mess, and they shouldn't leave their toys lying around. She took all their stuff, put it in a cardboard box, and keeps that under her desk. When she was getting new coffee, I had a peek into the box this morning. There wasn't much in it, but 3 sticks, glowing strongly with green light, were obviously stored in there. In the meantime, my editor Matthew entered the special room, but could not confirm any claims about grey men. That's the news for today. Only one thing is left, and that's the message from our gracious sponsors. We are close. We lay out a dark trail for you to follow. Find the way in your deepest dream. Follow the path. Unsettling as usual, but people told me they make the most beautiful obsidian paving tiles. This has been the news on Radio ReScience with your news anchor Tom Murley. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and most importantly, stay safe in these very dire times. Because they come from beneath the sea.
They Come From Beneath the Sea is a tabletop RPG written by Matthew Dawkins and published by Onyx Path Publishing. This piece of fan material was written, recorded and edited by Tom Murr, co-editing by Tracy Norman. The music on this episode was produced by Eric Matthias. Find his work at www.soundimage.org. All the art on the channel is designed by Looney Dragon. You can find her at Twitter with her label @LooneyDragon. Thank you for listening.